Good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to today's conversation on Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sarah Jane, and I'm delighted to be joined by my co-hosts, Scott Holmes. Scott, hi.
Hey there.
And Diane Woodford. Diane, hello.
Hello.
And we're coming from different parts of the world here. I'm in the UK. Diane, you're in Italy at the moment?
Yes.
Yeah. Scott, you're in Boston. And Angel is our guest, Angel Gold. Angel, thank you for joining us. Where are you? You're in
I'm in the Rocky Mountains in Canada.
Canada. So we've got a lovely spread here. It's brilliant. Anyway, the topic of our conversation, Angel's Choice, through the eyes of Jaguar. I'm now going to hand over to Scott, as Angel is Scott's guest.
Well, thank you very much. Angel and I met in Tulum last year, which is at with Brave Healer Productions. It was an absolutely amazing event. And I really want people to get to know who she is. So, Angel, tell us a little bit about yourself. And also, what do you mean by through the eyes of a Jaguar?
Well, thank you so much for having me on. It is my pleasure to share a bit about myself. My journey started in the gymnastics field. I started coaching at 12 years old and worked my way up that whole system for 30 years and eventually was producing world-class athletes for Canada. And through a traditional banana peel slip and fall on your head type experience, that was my spiritual awakening, and woke up seeing spirits standing at the end of my bed, and that was in 2007. And so my journey started shifting out of gymnastics into the spiritual realm and going down all the rabbit holes that we all do. And I found myself, I ended up at a drug and alcohol rehab center in Canada as a program facilitator and healer of not only the participants, but the staff members. And, as you follow the cosmic breadcrumbs, I ended up in Teotihuacan, learning from Toltec masters. And that was 10 to 15 year journey. And that's where the Jaguar medicine was learned, practicumed, and embodied. And that's where we are today.
Pretty amazing. That's a pretty amazing story. I think all of us have a little bit of that story where there have been life events that brought us to different points in our life. So today we're talking about, and we briefly spoke about it, but when you talk about boundaries, when you talk about forgiveness, when you talk about all of those aspects, what's different for you and also in the practice that you have?
From before I learned Jaguar medicine to now, is that kind of where you're going with that? Yeah, talk about lessons. And the thing about learning awareness and understanding what awareness is, going through that kind of practicum, it is not for the faint of heart. It literally is learning love versus fear. Where are you leading from love and where are you leading from fear? Mm-hmm. So those subconscious patterns that are running the show, that was the practicum, is figuring out where are you actually being authentic and what is a mask. And through over a decade of experiments, practices, going into spaces that probably weren't the safest, knowing they weren't, to get medicine, there was intent now in that awareness. Instead of just blindly following the cosmic breadcrumbs, the more sharper you get and the more discerning you get, then you actually have conscious thought over which experiences you want to have and which ones, oh, I've already had that lesson. I don't need to go and do that again. There's more discernment instead of, we all know, and I'm sure most humans can look back in their life and see where they repeated the same pattern over and over and over and over again. And so walking with Jaguar teaches you to recognize whether you're stepping back into another pattern that is not going to serve you. That is a lesson that you've already done. It's kind of like that trauma loop that you just keep spinning on the hamster wheel. How do you get off that? That's the Jaguar medicine. That's the awareness training.
Beautiful. Diane, do you have a question for Angel?
So, Angel, I guess my question would be that once you identify that hamster wheel and once you identify those practices or behaviors that you feel like you've achieved, and you realize, hey, still got work to do. How do you deal with that?
One of the tools that I think in the beginning is really important, and it comes from the gymnastics world as well. And that's why I think the Jaguar medicine resonated with me so deeply, is because if you have a framework that you can always come back to, then you know where you're at. Because how many people in their lives just don't even know where they are? Like, where are you going? What's your passion? What's your purpose? Like, people they're just, in the cog. They're just a wheel that they don't even know what they're doing. And so I like to say, where are you on your map? Just like you'd go to the great big malls and you got that digital thing, you are here. So finding out where you are exactly, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and socially. There's 5 kind of pillars that you have to walk yourself through to know exactly where you are. And that is a level of mastery and awareness when you can write mentally fit MEPS, MEPSS, MEPS. Where are you mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, socially? This is also done in rehab to teach people to come back into their bodies. So in the beginning, you start with one word. Mentally, I am clear. Emotionally, I am, you start with one word. And then once you can connect with your body deep enough to come up with that one word, then you can start on sentences. Then you can start on paragraphs. Then you see how it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, but you got to take one bite at a time, one word at a time.
Very good. Thank you.
Sorry, I turned my mic off. It's fascinating because when you were first talking about it, and I was thinking, people pleasers.
Right.
They come from a place of fear. And it's exactly what it is. And I spent so many years as a people pleaser. But I also struggle with the word love because of how it was used with me as a very tiny child, which was a perception that love means you're going to be deserted, you're going to be rejected, you're going to be abandoned. So I suppose I now come from the place of caring. It's my word for love. But isn't this all what you're saying is we find ways for us to live within our own lives when some words have caused us actually an awful lot of pain. And I love what you're saying because you're almost talking about, you're not using that technique, and I've mentioned it here before, it's metamorphic technique. It's a technique that helps to change the energy pathways in your body to help you let go of old unwanted behaviors. that's exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about doing it from a cognitive perspective rather than the gentle touch and you can go to sleep and let your body do it. But that's what it is all about. It is helping you to change those behaviors that we learned as a child as our way of coping with life. Because we didn't know how to cope with what was going on around us. And so, any more thoughts on that? But I'd love to hear sort of Scott and Diane's thoughts on what you've been saying as well as obviously there'll be more questions, I'm sure.
I always love when you bring that up and everybody says love and everybody says, oh, everybody knows what love is, what it means. Language is so limiting, is it not?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about and we all here are healers in different ways, and how language is kind of a poor way to communicate if you think about it. Mm-hmm. Yes, we're sitting here in a panel discussion talking. Okay. But when we do the work that we do, it's more than just speech. It's more than just intention. It is energy. It is how we go about it. There are times when we meet people, like Diane is meeting Angel for the very first time, and she only knows her by her energy. She doesn't know her story. She doesn't know what's going on. She only knows her by her energy. And I really find it interesting that people kind of poo-poo it. Most of the people around me, they kind of poo-poo that, but they use their feelings all the time. They get a gut reaction. They meet somebody and you go, ooh, nope. I'll just kind of walk over here. And they just subscribe it to, oh, well, they're just somebody I don't like. And they can't tell you the why of it. And so it's that energy that is in constant play with all of us. Mm-hmm. And understanding it, and Angel, much like you said, about being present, about having an understanding of yourself to be able to walk through that. And that is the prime thing that I try to do in working with clients, is get them back to here so that they can then go out. Always inside out, right? Any true healing I've ever met, homeopathy or anything else, inside to the out, because this has to be safe, this has to be good, this has to be strong, this has to be balanced, this has to be integrated, this has to be part of me, it has to be close to my soul's mission. All of that goes inside first and then out. And when you talk about eyes of the Jaguar, it's whenever I think of that, I see the eyes of a tiger, eyes of a cat, and they are so piercing, like they see everything. They can see at night, right? They can see much better than we can. They can see through the shadows, and that's what it always reminds me of, is seeing through all of that darkness to be able to walk through it. And that's my intention. What do you think, Diane?
Well, Scott, I'm going to piggyback on you and what you were saying about the energy. And so I always say the vibe don't lie. So it doesn't matter what a person tries to project. You can have the biggest smile on your face, but if that energy is not aligned with that smile, it's going to show up right away. And I feel like when you have that discernment, when you have that knowing, that people know, because they can feel you feeling them, and so they know when you can see, beyond that smile or that outer appearance, right? I think it's really amazing that we're having this conversation as far as just kind of staying in alignment is how it's hitting me. It's just kind of staying in alignment with your message, your truth, and then your out living, right? The way that you're living, the way that you're presenting, into the world. And what I got when I landed here in Italy was do it differently. I got a call to do it differently. So I said, okay, yes, I will do it differently. And it was just the things that I always done. It's like, okay, don't do that anymore. Take a different approach. Be open for different energy to help you to evolve to the next level, right? And sometimes, like you were saying a little bit earlier, Angel, you go, yeah, got that, check, check. And then life will bring something back around. It's like, maybe not a full check. You got some work still, to do on that. And I think it's just important to notice it and then make the adjustments. And that's how I believe, we truly stay aligned. Give yourself grace. Notice when you're out of alignment and make the change.
What do you think, Angel?
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you get into the more advanced levels of Jaguar medicine, it brings you into owning your shadows as well. We are human, right? We are here to learn, and how do these human soul baskets, our avatars, work? And so I loved what Sarah Jane said about, the people pleasing, because we know, especially as women, that's something that we are all collectively working on. And through our apprenticeship, one of the books that really helped me move past through some of that shadow work was The Warrior Heart Practice by Heather Ashamara. And she talks about the archetypes of the people pleaser, the isolator, the distractor, and the controller. We all have all four of those archetypes inside our bodies. And there is gold and shadow in each archetype. We need the people pleaser. And sometimes we betray ourselves by being a people pleaser. There's gold and shadow in all four archetypes. And so the work is to figure out where you are on each side of the spectrum. And then it gives you a little bit more of a map, because then it comes back to the map. So you can see how it just gets bigger and bigger. But diving into those pieces that aren't serving us, the pieces that we are coming from fear with, and learning how to integrate that. And we know that, that does come back into reconnecting with your inner child and those other timelines that are younger. Because when we experience trauma, wherever we experience trauma at whatever age that is, that's where we get stuck, right? And yes, our soul baskets chronologically get older, but we're operating energetically. A lot of our 5-year-olds are running the show. It's just fact on the earth. And 18, right? We kind of see 5-year-olds because that's right before kids go to school. And then 18 is when they're leaving school. So we see these two poignant points in human timelines where I would probably guess 90% of the population is either 5 or 18.
And I am definitely living my best 18-year-old life now. It's my second time around, and it's wonderful. Sara.
Diane said something about alignment with ourselves, and you talked also about, Angel, about sort of following what others do, what we're told to do. And I am one of these people. I do it my way. When I started this program, all those years ago, Gift of Healing TV, Today's Conversation, I do it my way. I've had people saying, "Oh, but if you haven't got X number of viewers or whatever," and it's just like, no, this is about getting the information out there, making it available for when people are ready to find it, not for them to find it right at the time we do the live. They may not find it for 10 years. I'm in that space of, I know this is what I'm meant to do. Those that work with me, they believe as I believe. And there are more and more of us, and that's great. When I did my book last year, I did it my way.
Yep.
And Scott could vouch for that. Because doing it the other way, aspects of it that didn't feel right to me. And therefore it was important to me that so it's like getting everybody to read their own chapter, and there's an audio included at the back of the book. Don't have to go and buy a separate one. It's right there. That felt so true to me. Did I hear a dog? I love it.
Yeah.
So it's being true and doing things the way that work for you, providing you're not hurting anybody. That's the most important thing, is being true to yourself. And I adore animals, I adore nature, and so having and big cats, sort of, although I've worked with wolves, but sort of big cats, yes. Creatures are amazing. We can learn so much from them if only we're open to. And they don't follow rules. They follow what works for them, what they have to do to survive. That's not necessarily a rule. That's just what they have to do. And that's just more and more of us, I hope, are getting to that space of, that doesn't resonate. This is what works for me. And it may not earn the money that the other way does. But, you know, everything like that is falling away now. It's all falling away. Mm-hmm. Things have got to change. We've got to start doing things more authentically, differently. And I think that's really what you're talking about here, isn't it, Angel? It's that stepping away from doing things the way we're told to do them.
Mm. I want to just jump in real quick and just say I am living my best 5-year-old self. My best 5-year-old self, you know.
Describe it, Diane. Describe what you do. Most people would, you live a dream that most people talk about as a fantasy. You are living that. Please describe what that is.
That is waking up each and every day for real and saying, what do we have going on today? How do I spread love to the highest frequency? That is traveling, not long-term booking, which is so different than the person that I was for half of my life. I mean, I was a planner. I'm a retired critical care nurse, professor. So rationales, planning, you know, just all of that. You know, I was a strong planner, and I was called out into a life. A friend of mine described it as a cottywomple. And a cottywomple is a person that you're going purposefully toward an unknown destination. And that is what me and my husband have been doing for the last 10 years. I'm in Italy. We're leaving and going to a new place on Saturday, but I just made the reservation yesterday. Yesterday was Tuesday for those that are listening. So it's not far ahead. Living my 5-year-old life gives me the opportunity to say, nah, I'm not going to book out 3 weeks in advance. I'll get back with you. You know, just give me, it's just like it's taking little bites of life at a time. And in doing so, It's so flavorful and it tastes so good, and you get to have fun with it. So that's what it is. That's what it is, Scott.
How many places have you, quote unquote, lived in the last 3 months?
Huh?
6,
last 3 months?
just 3, because otherwise it's going to be too. This is going to be too long.
Yeah, heck yeah. So where we're at, we're in June. So we started off at the beginning of March in Charleston, South Carolina. We left and went to the Dominican Republic. We stayed there to the beginning of April. We left. We went to California for a visit, Denver for a visit, and then we came to Milan, Italy. We were in Milan, Italy for a month. We left, went to Florence, and now we're in Positano. We'll be back in Florence on Saturday.
Okay, so for those of you trying to pinpoint that, that is thousands of miles in 3 months. And that is Diane's life. And she walks the walk, talks the talk, and tells it straight all the time. And I absolutely adore that. I adore that. And speaking of travel, I have the great opportunity to be able to travel very soon, in a couple of weeks, with Angel to an adult summer camp. Angel, tell me about the evolution of that and what it involves, if you would.
Yeah. So my stomping grounds, where I had my spiritual awakening and started my business, and the mountains I grew up in, this last shamanic death that I went through and was in Tulum with Scott kind of at the end of it, he said to me, why don't you do a retreat? I want to see your spaces. And so I asked my inner child, so it's like perfect segue. I asked my inner child, if you were to bring your 5-year-old friends to your favoriteest and most magical places, where would you go? And in one day, I sat down and built the whole program, built the whole land, like everything was done within a day. It just, those moments when the universe opens and goes, here you go. And that's what happened. And so I've been really blessed to live at the base of the Rocky Mountains and experienced sacred spaces in hot springs and portals in the mountains where the trees literally twist on their own. So the energy's there. And these, just exploring that nature. And of course, for those of you who have not been to Canada, we still have lots and lots of land that humans don't touch. We have lots of space, and my whole life has been exploring those spaces and finding the fairies and, really communing with the nature. And so, yeah, we're going to be going to Banff. We're going to be going to Radium and Fairmont, and all 3 of them have hot springs. It's called Hot Springs Alley. And then we're going to go way deep into the bush where the humans aren't, and do some communing and see what magic we can come up with. And it's all based on our inner child work. And I also taught preschool for 4 years. I got lots of stuff up my sleeve. So yeah, I don't want to say too much because I want it to be a surprise for Scott. But yeah, we're going to have a blast, and it's in about 3 weeks.
So in doing this, it's that, and Diane, you mentioned this, when you're a planner, like I'm going to California and I had to plan the trip, and I had to figure out which airline, and I had to figure out which car rental and where I was going to stay and who I was going to see. And I had to plan all that. So with this particular trip, I said, tell me when I'm going to be there. And by the way, we get to go to the Calgary Zoo. I'm going in a day early just so we can go to the zoo, by the way. I love zoos. And that's what brings me joy. but it's giving up control. Not that we have anything of control in life, but just allowing that to happen and to be organic and to be just trusting that no matter what happens, no matter what comes up, that it's meant to be. And I truly believe that when we're present, that and being open to those experiences, wow. We can talk about magic, we can talk about woo-woo, we can talk about all that, but when we allow those things to happen, man, it is amazing.
And that's the presence piece, right? Like it, and I think coming from the gymnastics world, I didn't understand. Like I wasn't awake when I was coaching. And I didn't understand even back then. I was pushing small humans to defy what most humans have been told isn't possible. That the physical body, I taught athletes how to move their bodies how most humans cannot. And then took that to a world-class level. So to be able to not only see it and do it, but to teach it, knowing it's such a life-threatening, like every time a national athlete steps on a trampoline, they could die, period. That's just fact. We know that in the gym. And, you know, coming from the doctor and nurses world, they hated trampolines. They did not, you know, it's life-threatening and people die on them. And I've had it happen in my world, not one of my athletes, but in our community, it's happened. And so to be able to hold that kind of container, you have to have a mastery of presence. You just have to. If you want humans to trust you at that level of life-threatening, you have to be able to be present and hold it. And that's a spiritual muscle. And so doing that my whole life, I thought it was just that I was just put on, you know, lots of people call me Mama Bear. That's just kind of the energy I brought. I didn't realize what a gift that was until I actually went into the spiritual realm and they're like, oh, and then you have one of the most world famous shamans look at you and say, you need to start teaching presence. Oh, I didn't even know that was a gift. How do you know if you don't know? And it's just how you live your life. And so it doesn't matter if the chronological body in front of me is 5 years old or whether it's 70 years old, I'm still going to treat the 5-year-old the same. It's the same energy. It's just a different timeline you're meeting each other on.
Sarah.
I just remember being so insecure that I wouldn't do anything for fear of what other people would say or think. And when I had that life quake that woke me up, that's when I saw and heard about the UK Wolf Conservation Trust. And I became a trainee handler and worked with the wolves. I also heard about a trip to Romania to track wolves and lynx in the Carpathian Mountains with the Carpathian Large Carnivore Project through the Scientific Exploration Society. So it was not to kill. I would never have anything to do with killing. And I went and did that. And I have abseiled off the water tower locally. My mother's reaction when I said I was doing it was, oh, but that's dangerous. You can't do that. That would have stopped me in my tracks. I've done a zip wire. I've flown a helicopter. It's just like I've done a wing walk. I went out. I am now going to live my life. What age that is doesn't matter to me. It was about, and every year I like to do something just a little bit different that I've never done before. And maybe this year I'll get to do two, but sort of because, yeah, for my birthday, it was just like, all right, I just want to think there's a waterfall that goes onto the beach, fairly local to here. But oh boy, that was not an easy walk to get to it. And as much as some of my family members said, oh, we wouldn't mind going there, it was just like, you won't do it. But I've climbed the 3 highest peaks in England, Wales, and Scotland. I've gone out to experience life. Not everything's been that major. I wanted to throw a pot, sort of not quite like Ghost, but, sort of, but I got to do that. I took myself to Egypt and I got to see dolphins swimming in the wild. And on the second time going to Egypt, I did actually manage to get to see the pyramids and the Sphinx, but I still had to take myself off to do that. It's having the courage. If there's something you'd like to do it. And this year I do. It's only up to Scotland, but I do wish to get to the Rosslyn Chapel. I have a connection with dragons. I feel there's a real dragon energy there. I wish to go. And I'm hoping that I'll connect with other people up there. And we might even be able to take some drumming and bits and pieces up. There's a little valley, apparently, that you can get down into by a river. I'd love to be able to. But it will be organized, but it won't. I'm quite happy to go with the flow of things. And I have to with the work I do. And I think all of us do to a degree when we're working with a client. I have to just wait and see what comes because of the energies they bring. It's not about me telling them, it's about me listening to them. And then just seeing what comes from that. With these programs, I love doing these programs because I never know where the conversations are going. That is exactly how I love them to be. Because they are conversations that will because nobody knows what they're going to listen to. They get a sense from the title, or maybe actually through the eyes of Jaguar, have no idea what that means. But hopefully they'll still watch and listen to this and they will learn. Is it about truth to ourselves? Finding who we are beneath everything others have said to us, about us, etc. So I love what's being said here. I'd love to learn a little bit more about the teachings of Jaguar.
And the Toltecs would call the Jaguar medicine the first attention. So there's 3 attentions, first, second, and third. And the first attention is awareness. And so second attention is transformation, third attention is mastery. And so the Jaguar medicine, they call it the first, that's learning the first attention. That is learning to be becoming aware. So like the 2 tools that I shared, the MEPS and then the Warrior Heart Practice book, those are first attention tools. And so it is about internal freedom. Like if you needed a definition of what Jaguar medicine is, it's learning internal freedom.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that's from the Toltec lens of how you get to internal freedom is starting with Jaguar medicine, which is the first attention.
Wow.
And then and the other way to kind of look at the 3 levels is level 1 being mastery of awareness, victim. Level 2, mastery of transformation, warrior. Level 3, mastery of intent, enlightened. So what's the Toltec path is the path of the warrior, opposed to like the lineage of the rose, the Mary Magdalene, right? So you've got the warrior and the goddess. And going through the levels of attentions is the warrior path. is because you're killing your ego, right? You're killing everything that you are doing derived from fear. And so it's not easy, especially when you have such structure. So for me, coming from the gymnastics realm, not only is it completely structured and everybody's competing the same routines, like it is a machine, then we as coaches are taught to judge the machine. So now, you know, we're in the healing realm, we're all like, oh, non-judgment, don't judge, don't judge. Tell that to a provincial level judge who judges to make money, right? When you're actually trained and paid to judge your athletes and other people's athletes. And so one of the biggest ways to start working with Jaguar medicine is a tool that they call undoings. We want to take those routines that we just have on autopilot and shake them. One of the first things that my teachers had me doing was as easy as brush your teeth with the other hand. Take a
not easy. Definitely not easy.
Right? But who would ever think to do that? That brushing your teeth with the other hand actually decreases your awareness. Whenever you are in autopilot, your awareness is decreased. And so that's one of the first lessons that, you know, a Toltec teacher will give you is to look in your life and where are you on autopilot? Because as soon as you shake that autopilot, you increase your awareness. Now, with what Scott had said with Diane, with what you've been doing for the last 3 years or last 3 months, the amount of moving and stuff you do, I would wager a guess that your awareness is very high to be able to live that lifestyle and still have your nervous system regulated. That is an advanced level of awareness. Right? And then, you know, I just reconnected with a human from my teenagehood, and he has had the same job, the same house, the same routine for 30 years. However, he's got an engineering degree and a teaching degree, and he's a high performance athlete at 60 years old. So you can increase your awareness if you're in that space, if you're challenging yourself outside of that. But that doesn't mean that your awareness is going to be as high as somebody who is traveling and living in flow. Right? And so that book of law, everybody has a book of law, your internal book of law, your moral compass, the things that you agree to, you know, how you're going to navigate this life, that the Toltecs call your own internal book of law. And so when you are challenging your awareness and stepping into Jaguar medicine, you are essentially rewriting your book, your internal book of law.
Wow. Ooh, I love that. I love the synergy of this conversation because I was thinking flow, I was thinking transformation, and I was just thinking about how I get to do what it is that I do. From the start of this journey, like over 10 years ago to where I am now, I have seen so much transformation, so many unlearnings, to the point that there was a time when I would go to sleep and I would say, whatever I don't need, take it away to make space for the things that I do need. Memories that are no longer serving, they can go. And that's a big thing for me, because I had a memory like an elephant, and people say, you remember everything. And now not so much, because I'm making space. If I don't need it, then I let it go. I mean, we traveled 82 days with a Cotopaxi backpack. Right now, we're here with just a carry-on luggage. And the thing of it is, it depends on where your mind is. If your mind is in a space of house, closet, 20 pair of shoes, lots of clothes, then no, you can't fathom traveling like that. But if your mind is in flow, where whatever I need, I will get. What I don't need, I will release. And you're just constantly letting it do that, then it's a whole different thing. I want to lastly say that in order to get to this space mentally and spiritually, I had to cross the bridge that took me from caring about what others had to say and trying to explain. I don't explain it anymore. I just don't. You have to become unapologetic. Because if I try to explain the leaps that I'm taking before I take my leap, I'm never going to take the leap. Because first of all, you're not going to be able to explain it to a person where they get it. And second of all, they're going to try to talk you out of it, because they're going to like, are you crazy? What's wrong with you? So I got to a place where as I could look at it unapologetically, and I got to a place where I stopped explaining. The freedom that comes, just those two things, is mind-blowing.
I want everybody who's listening to this to understand the high vibrational people that you're dealing with. And for Sara, always blows me away when she says she wing walked. Now, anybody who actually knows what that is getting out on the wing of a plane while it's in the air walking. Okay? It's
what?
Yes.
You don't walk on it. You're actually strapped.
You're strapped upright. In, but you're
strapped upright on it.
Yes, you're strapped, but you're still on the wing. Okay. Oh, yeah. Getting out of a perfectly good plane, okay, and walking on the wing is a little bit crazy.
That's trampoline level. Yeah.
That's trampoline level. But I want everybody to understand that you're talking to people who are free, and the freedom. I went to Egypt just last month, and I had so many friends say, "How would you dare go to Egypt? There's a war going on," and that's much like saying, there was a fire in a house 1,000 miles away, so you can't travel to that city. And I kind of looked at it and said, look, I'm being called. And they asked me to explain it. And Diane, much like yourself, I don't explain it. I just say, look, I'm being called to do this. It's going to be perfectly safe. I'm going to be fine. I already asked my counsel. I said, should I do this? And they're like, heck yeah. And am I going to be fine? Fine. And to do those things without fear, the fear. Now, do you plan? Yes, you have to plan things. Do you think about things and make judgments based on rational thinking? Yes. You don't walk into dark alleys at 3 o'clock in the morning in neighborhoods you don't understand or are really scared of. You don't do those things because something could happen. But there's a trust there because you're going to make those judgments and be guided not to do those silly things. So we've talked about an awful lot of being able to walk without fear. Doesn't mean there aren't any boundaries. It just means that our boundaries look different. That the boundaries that most people that I in my family, my friends, their boundaries are very, very close. When you take those down, it doesn't mean that your internal boundaries, much like you said, Angel, those laws that we live by, right? Those internal laws that we live with, what's right and what's wrong, how we treat people, all of those things, those go with us. But we don't have those external boundaries anymore. And you're talking to people who don't necessarily have those boundaries anymore. They don't have those restrictions on their life. When they see something, they do something, they do it their way. You know, if I part of the people pleaser of me, I wanted to understand how to do certain things. So I went to them and said, oh, you have to do this, and you have to pay for this, and you have to go here, and you have to do it this way. And I got that gut feeling of, do I really have to do things that way because everybody else is doing it that way? And it seemed like there are millions of people doing it, and everybody says, I don't make any money, I don't do that, I just spend money, and I'm there. So Sara is so right in that she does it her way. Today doesn't mean that you need to hear these words, but maybe in 5 years, when you're in the right place, you come across this discussion and it lands with you. Much like writing a book. The book stays. It's your legacy. And when people pick it up, it's when they need it. And that's a wonderful thing. Angel, I'd really love for you to, anything that we haven't gone over or haven't said that you really would love to say or let people know about you and about what we've talked about.
One thing that I would love people to take away is your body will not lie to you. And even at a world-class level, coaching, the athlete always had the last say. If there was a friction, it was, what's your body telling you? What's your body telling you? You need to listen to your body. Where are you at in your body right now? If you can develop that relationship between your spirit and your body, that's the hack. That's the hack. Developing that relationship is the most important thing as a human. So that is the most important takeaway. Let your nervous system help lead you.
Beautiful.
And I also would like to acknowledge Sara's wolves. My spiritual awakening wolf medicine came in to me as a child before Jaguar. And so I love that you got to share your wolf stories with me, because that lands deep. That lands deep for me. So thank you for sharing that.
Diane.
I would say that the thought that the ducks must be in a row for you to make a move, that's a fallacy. The thought that your bank account, that even your mind sometimes is going to make it make sense, that's a fallacy. When you leap without a net, you would be amazed. And you hear that from me. I've leaped so many times. I'm not saying that it gets easier, because it doesn't. And the reason it doesn't get easier is because each leap is a higher elevation. So you're not taking the same leaps over and over again. You're going higher and higher and higher. Now, what does get easier is running to that ledge, because you know that, hey, I'm going to land or I'm going to fly. So my words to whoever's listening, go for it. Be true to yourself and stop explaining your vision to people that don't see it.
And I'm going to piggyback on that and say, don't ask permission. People will understand or they won't. And if you get into the arguments, family, of course, are those closest to us, always have those warnings, right? Don't do that. Oh my gosh, don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to die. You're going to lose money. You're going to, whatever that is, they're there to protect you. Protect. And if they had that way, they would put you in a bubble. And being a dad, I kind of get that. I wanted to do that for my daughters, but it was only until I took the wrapping off that they really blossomed and they could grow. So, and they needed that. And it really is, in talking about this, and you're maintaining your integrity and maintaining your energy and maintaining your presence makes life that much more beautiful. Keep it going. And Sara, I hand it over to you for the final word.
You used the word woo-woo. Why don't we make it wow, wow? Because isn't that what... How many people are going to be listening to this and thinking, wow, they're doing this, they're doing that. We can all do it one step at a time. You haven't, yes, taking a leap's great, but test the waters for yourself, realize that there isn't a problem, and go for it. Sort of, I was meant to go on that trip to Romania. I was meant to do the walking with the wolves, and it was, yes, getting that up close and personal with the wolves was amazing. Trust the process of your life when you take that leap of faith, so that you're not just thinking, wow, when you hear what we do, you're thinking, wow, when you think of your own life. Because that's what it's about. Forget the woo-woo bit. It isn't woo-woo. Allow it to be wow, wow.
Love
it. Absolutely. Thank you for this topic, Angel. It's been brilliant. And it's been lovely to meet you as well. I know we met for the first time yesterday, but it was great to have a conversation with you. Diane, enjoy the rest of your times and your travels. I'm sure we will connect again very soon. Scott, I know you and I will connect pretty soon anyway. Thank you to each and every one of you. It has been brilliant, as always, in its own unique way. Next week, I'm being joined by Jean Voistart, because she's got a new book coming out on the 7th of July, Brave Families. And I've got the rest of it there somewhere. But the topic's going to be creating and keeping long-lasting, loving relationships. But it's not just Jean. I've got two of the other authors coming on with us as well, Elizabeth Kipp and Julie Schindler. And yes, I'm one of the authors in that book too. So we're all going to be talking about that. But there's so much good energy. Scott, from Burnout to Burning Bright. Sort of, I don't know whether you've written a book. Have you, Angel? Well, you've been in school.
Yeah, Shamanic Leadership is the introduction of that is my wolf story.
Right. And Diane's written a book as well. Sort of. Yeah. So we're all authors. We share our wisdom to touch the lives and support you all. So thank you to each and every one here. Thank you to all of you who listen whenever you do. Oh, and very quickly, let's put Angel's website up there. And I will make sure that that is under the video on YouTube. And please, folks, if you have been touched, something's resonated with you here, check out the website of that individual or all of us. And don't hesitate to connect with us. That's why we do what we do, to support you. And hopefully you'll be living a life well beyond our own. Take care, be safe, stay well. Namaste, sweet souls. Bye.